Hello, serious estheticians. I'm Renee Sorbonne, and today we're going to talk about something that's going to make you question everything you know about pigmentation. If you've been treating pigmentation the way that you were taught in school, and if you've been following the protocols that everyone else is using, if you're getting frustrated because your clients just are not seeing the results that they should be, then this video is going to change everything for you. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. Almost everything you've been taught about pigment is wrong. Not just incomplete, not just outdated, but fundamentally wrong at the cellular level. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why, using the cellular science that Florence Barrett Hill has taught us through Prestige training. More importantly, I'm going to show you what actually works. Let me ask you something. How many times have you had a client come in with pigmentation concerns and you've done everything right according to your training? You've used the lighting agents, you've followed the protocols, you've been consistent with the treatments, and yet 6 months later that pigmentation is still there. Or worse, it's actually gotten darker. Maybe you start questioning yourself. You start thinking that maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you need more training. Maybe you need different products. But what if I told you that the problem isn't you? What if I told you that the problem is the entire industry has been approaching pigmentation from the wrong angle for decades? Here's what's really happening. The skincare industry, the medical aesthetic industry, even the dermatology industry, they're all focused on treating the symptom of pigmentation, not the cause. They're looking at the melanin that's already formed, the pigmentation that's already visible, and they're trying to break it down, lighten it, or exfoliate it away. But they're completely ignoring what's happening at the cellular level that's causing that pigmentation to form in the first place. It's kind of like trying to stop a leaky roof by constantly mopping up the water on the floor while completely ignoring the hole in the roof itself. You can mop all day long, but until you fix the hole in the roof, that water is going to keep coming. This is where Florence Barrett Hill's approach becomes absolutely crucial, because we need to understand the cells and the systems involved before we can understand how to address the problem itself. Pigmentation doesn't just appear overnight. It's a result of a complex cellular process called melanogenesis. And this process is controlled by melanocytes, which are specialized cells located in the basal layer of your epidermis. Now, here's the first thing that most people get wrong. Melanocytes aren't just sitting there randomly producing melanin. They're responding to signals, to triggers, to cellular communication that's telling them to produce more pigment. When we understand the cellular communication system, we start to realize that pigmentation is actually a symptom of cellular dysfunction. The melanocytes are working perfectly fine. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to do when they receive certain signals. The problem is that when they're not receiving the right signals and they're receiving wrong signals, or they're receiving signals that should have stopped but haven't. Think of it this way. Your melanocytes are like employees in a factory. They're not making the decision about how much product to produce. They're following orders from management. If the factory is overproducing, you don't fire all the employees. You're going to look at the management system that's giving those orders. In the case of pigmentation, That management system is the cellular communication network that includes inflammatory mediators, hormonal signals, and oxidative stress markers. This is where the traditional approach gets it completely wrong. We use lightening agents like hydroquinone and kojic acid, for example. We're essentially trying to destroy the product that the employees have already made while completely ignoring the management system that's telling them to keep making more. It's no wonder that pigmentation keeps coming back, often darker than before. But here's where it gets even more interesting from a cellular perspective. When we use harsh lightening agents, we're not just affecting the melanocytes, we are affecting the entire cellular environment. We're creating oxidative stress, we're disrupting cellular communication, and we're actually triggering more inflammatory signals. In other words, we're making the management system even more dysfunctional. Now you might be wondering, if the cellular science is so clear, why isn't everyone teaching it this way? Why are we still being told to use lightening agents and exfoliating treatments? And this is where we need to talk more about the uncomfortable truth about the skincare industry. The pigmentation treatment industry is worth billions of dollars. Billions. And that industry is built on the idea that pigmentation is a surface problem that requires surface solutions. Think about it. If you could solve pigmentation by addressing the underlying cellular dysfunction once, how much money would that make compared to selling lightening serums that need to be used indefinitely? The industry has a vested interest in keeping you focused on the symptom rather than the cause, because treating symptoms creates customers for life. Addressing root causes creates solutions that actually work, which is bad for business. But here's what's even more insidious. The industry has convinced us that harsh treatments are necessary for effective results. They've created this mythology that if a treatment isn't causing some level of irritation, inflammation, or purging, then it's not working. And this isn't just wrong, it's dangerous. When we create inflammation in the skin, we're actually triggering the exact cellular process that caused pigmentation in the first place. Inflammation is one of the primary signals that tells melanocytes to produce more melanin. So, when we use harsh lightening agents that cause irritation, we are literally creating more of the problem that we're trying to solve. I am sure that, like me, that you have seen this over and over in practice. Clients come in with pigmentation that's been made worse by some aggressive treatment. They've been told that the darkening is normal and that it is part of the process, that they need to push through it, through the irritation, and now we have to fix it. But from a cellular science perspective, this makes no sense whatsoever. So what is the solution? How do we actually address pigmentation at the cellular level? This is where corneotherapy principles becomes absolutely essential, and this is where the Florence Barrett Hill approach shows us a completely different way forward. What we'll do is that instead of trying to destroy the melanin that's already formed, we need to address the cellular dysfunction that is causing the melanin to be produced in the first place. We need to restore proper cellular communication, reduce inflammation signaling, and support the skin's natural regulatory mechanisms. It is then and only then that we could consider corrective treatments, and only with caution and at the right time. The first step is understanding that pigmentation is always a barrier dysfunction issue. When the stratum corneum is compromised, when the skin's protective barrier is not functioning properly, the deeper layers of the skin become vulnerable to damage and dysfunction. That UV radiation penetrates more deeply, inflammatory mediators can't be properly regulated, and cellular communication is going to become chaotic. This is why the corneotherapy approach starts with barrier, repair, and support. We're not trying to lighten existing pigment, we're trying to create an environment where the cellular systems can function properly again. When the barrier is healthy, cellular communication is restored, and inflammatory processes are properly regulated, the melanocyte naturally returns to normal function, assuming, of course, that DNA damage of the cell has been avoided. But here's the key. This process takes time, and it requires completely different approaches to treatment. Instead of those harsh actives that create more dysfunction, we use physiological ingredients that support cellular processes. Instead of trying to force rapid changes that disrupt cellular communication, we work with the skin's natural healing and regulatory mechanisms. From a cosmetic chemistry perspective, this means using ingredients that are biocompatible, that can integrate into cellular processes without causing disruption. We are talking specifically about phospholipids that support cell membrane function, antioxidants that reduce oxidative stress without creating rebound effects, and of course anti-inflammatory components that modulate cellular signaling rather than suppressing it. The results of this approach are remarkable, but they're different from what the industry has taught us to expect. Instead of ongoing dependence on lightening products, we are going to see long-term resolution of pigmentation issues. Now, as a professional, how do you implement this approach into your practice? How do you explain this to your clients who have been conditioned to expect harsh treatments and rapid results? Well, first we need to become comfortable with being the educator, with being the professional who understands cellular science at a much deeper level than your competitors. And this is your competitive advantage. When you can explain to a client exactly what's happening at the cellular level, then you can show them why traditional approaches hasn't worked for them. You immediately establish yourself as a professional who has superior knowledge. Secondly, you need to reframe the conversation around pigmentation. So instead of talking about lightening and bleaching, you talk about cellular health and barrier function. Instead of promising rapid results, you educate about sustainable improvement. And of course, instead of selling products, you are providing solutions to underlying cellular dysfunction. Yes, this requires a different kind of consultation approach. You're not just looking at the pigmentation that's visible on the surface of the skin. You are assessing the cellular environment that's creating that pigmentation. You're looking at barrier function, inflammatory status, hormonal influences, and environmental factors, including lifestyle factors. You're asking questions about stress levels, sleep patterns, those lifestyle factors that can all affect cellular function. Your treatment protocols become focused on supporting cellular health rather than supporting cellular changes. You're using gentle physiological approaches that work with the skin's natural processes rather than against them. You're educating clients about the importance of consistency and patience, because cellular healing takes time. But here's the beautiful thing about this approach. When you get results, they last. When you address the underlying cellular dysfunction, when you restore proper barrier function and cellular communication, excessive pigmentation formation stays at bay. Your clients become advocates for your approach because they've experienced something that actually works to improve their skin long term. There is a raw side to the pigmentation challenge, and that is why I would never promise 100% outcome. It's because the melanocyte is a long-living, fast-aging cell, and there is no stem cell resource. Once mitochondrial DNA damage occurs to the melanocyte itself, correction is a real challenge. However, we can vastly improve the skin condition, prevent further damage, and more pigmentation from forming. And, truth be told, doing nothing or doing the wrong thing is a sure path to making the condition worse. If what I'm sharing with you today resonates with you, and if you're tired of the frustration of treating pigmentation the way everybody else does, if you want to learn the cellular science approach that actually gets lasting results, then I want you to join my private community of serious estheticians who are committed to understanding skin at the deepest level. In my private skincare professionals community, we dive deep into cellular science behind every skin condition. We share case studies, we discuss treatment options and protocols, and we support each other in becoming the best version of professional that we can be, the ones who get results that others cannot explain. As a member of my community, you get access to our exclusive cellular pigmentation assessment protocol, which walks you through exactly how to assess pigmentation from a cellular perspective, and also how to identify the underlying dysfunction and how to create treatment plans that address the root causes for your clients rather than just their symptoms. In the group, you also have access to our monthly skincare chat sessions where we share more thoughts, discuss real cases, I answer your questions, and continue building expertise in cellular science and also on corneotherapy principles. If you're interested in joining, the link is in the comments below. Please don't wait on joining. We are building something really special here, a community of professionals committed to excellence, truth, and delivering real results for our clients. Remember, this is serious stuff for serious estheticians because there is life after waxing. When you understand cellular science and when you approach pigmentation from the perspective of cellular dysfunction, rather than surface symptoms, you become a professional who gets results that others can't explain. So with that, keep questioning what you've been taught, keep learning, and keep raising the standards of what it means to be a serious skin-centric esthetician, and I will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.